Welcome to Beyond the Scale, where we delve into transformative stories of business owners who have harnessed the power of body composition to elevate not only their enterprises, but also the lives of their customers and patients. I'm your host, Bradley from InBody. Today, we're going to go beyond the numbers and the scale and explore the profound impact that body composition can have on nutrition coaching. From an innovative new software called LifeBase Solutions that will streamline your success to groundbreaking implementation strategies, we're going to uncover secrets behind the success of nutrition programs. If you have an InBody or you're thinking about getting an InBody and you provide nutrition services to your customers, you don't want to miss this conversation because there's a huge upside to understanding what we're going to talk about today, both for your client results and generating revenue for your services. If you're someone who spends any amount of time teaching clients how to eat right, lose weight, gain muscle, balance their water ratios, this episode is for you. So without further ado, let's dive into the intersection of business and body composition right here on Beyond the Scale. Today, my guest is Trevor Brown. He's the Vice President of Business Development at LifeBase Solutions. On top of that, he owns a gym, sells real estate. He's a husband, a father to two wonderful daughters. And he started his journey with InBody because he wanted to add a scalable nutrition coaching program to his gym. Fast forward several years, he's grown that nutrition program to over 6 figures a year. And now he's coaching other businesses to be able to do the same. So welcome, Trevor. Thanks for joining us. We're happy to have you here.
Yeah, brother. No, I'm excited to be here. I appreciate introduction was awesome. And I get to add a third kiddo to that mix. We've got a 6-month-old baby boy too. So
yeah. Sorry, I forgot about that.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. Yeah. No, excited to be here. This will be fun.
Great. Yeah, let's have some fun. How are you today?
I'm doing good, buddy. We in Nebraska, so we have 6 inches of snow 2 days ago. We don't get the California weather, but I know we've got 61 degrees and it's bright and sunny today. So yeah, welcome to Nebraska.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I know I was there last month to visit you when we went to the coaches clinic, and right. I've known you for about a year now, and I could sense it, but I really got a feel for how much enthusiasm and how motivated you are. And I wanted to start off just by asking you, like, what motivates you today? Why do you work so hard?
Oh man, that's a great question. I know, I think there's a turning point in my life when I opened up my gym about 12 years ago. When you go into business for yourself, I think you quickly learn that it's on nobody else. It's 100% on my shoulders to get where I want to go. And you quit becoming reliant on other people. And so I think just by default, by owning the gym and being the guy that, is up at 4 o'clock in the morning every day, and for the first 7-8 years is cleaning the gym every night, doing everything myself, I think that probably instilled some pretty good habits in me. And today I just bring that same energy and passion that I have for our gym members into LifeBase. And it was just a natural transition and carryover. Of course, having the family and the kiddos, it's probably the most motivating thing that there is for me at this point as well. So, yeah.
I could imagine. Yeah, that's great. Do you have any stories like from when you were younger where you feel like you had developed that drive inside of you that kind of led to the mission that you're on today?
Yeah, growing up, my mom was always that person. My dad left when I was a kiddo. He was an alcoholic, didn't see him after about the age of 2. So mom was always that person that was providing for the family. She was a businesswoman, an entrepreneur herself in the real estate business. I remember her, as much as I didn't like it at that time, I remember her coming into the garage at night. I'd hear the garage door open after I'd already be in bed. She was getting home at 9, 10 o'clock at night, but she'd be back up the next morning at 4 or 5 in the morning, back at work. And at that time, I don't think I appreciated enough. But looking back, I'd say that my mom was probably the biggest influence on me. I think you just kind of learn by osmosis, maybe being around that sort of person. I think that's what kind of led to where I'm at today and that sort of work ethic for sure.
Amazing. So how long have you been running your gym? It sounds like maybe 12 years. Is that when you started?
Yeah, but if I go back, actually in 2012, we started in mom's garage in about March or April of that year. And then we were there through the summer, through that winter. And then the following year in 2013, in January, moved to a small 1,500 square foot warehouse building down a gravel road. It was an old car mechanic shop. So very humble beginnings, to say the least. And then in September of 2013, we were able to build a brand new facility, and we've been there now for 11 years. So yeah.
It's fantastic. It's a beautiful facility. I had a chance to work out there when I was in town. For many years, I've been fascinated with transformations in human behavior, motivation, and obviously body composition here at InBody, and helping people get to a state of life where there's more joy and enjoyment. And I think I enjoy helping people transform. And I wonder, why do you think people hire coaches?
Oh man, well, offhand, so if we're just talking from a health standpoint in general, always keep in mind that 70% of Americans are overweight or obese. So if it was easy, everybody would do this stuff on their own, right? They'd have it all figured out, but it's just not the case. So I think on a number of levels, maybe it's even human psychology or behavior, we tend to flock to groups. People are doing like-minded things, things along those lines. We look for affirmation in places where we're unsure of if we're moving in the right direction. So I think a coach can provide a lot of those things. They provide that structure, the accountability, definitely that affirmation that you're on the plan, you're on the right path going forward.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of that. And going into like our gym setting, for example, part of what I love so much is not only the coaching, but the community of people as well. That's what gets me out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning to go work out on the days that I don't open the gym. It's knowing not only that my coach is going to be there, but that group of people that I'm buddies with is going to be there. I'm going to get a whole bunch of grief if I don't show up. So, yeah, I think it's a combination of things, but definitely having somebody in your corner, knowing it's not easy on your own, and having somebody to turn to for advice. I think those are keys.
Wonderful. Well, before we dive too deep into the nutrition part of it, beyond the coaching, let's talk about your experience with InBody first. When did you bring the InBody into your business? And at the time, what problem were you trying to solve?
So going back, I mean, I've always been before I even got into the CrossFit world, and I'm 39 years old now, I was always into the physique stuff, the bodybuilding type of working out. So I'd always had a background in nutrition and doing my own macro plans, doing contest cuts and things along those lines. But I was doing that same thing in my gym going back 5, 6 years. And I had a buddy of mine, Steve, who was owned a supplement store in Omaha. And I was doing programming for him. And so he came to me and said, "Hey, Trev, can I help you do the nutrition coaching? I can streamline some of this stuff for you." And at that time, we were doing it with like caliper testing. So it was an excuse for him probably to get out of Omaha, drive here to hang out with me. We'd work out together. And then he'd meet with 20 or 30 of our gym members and just do their nutrition. Took a little bit of the work off my shoulders. And he owned a supplement store. And so he had a little bit more time to do that sort of thing. But he was the one who about a year later came to me and said, "Hey, we've got this new software, LifeBase Solutions, and it integrates with the InBody. You've got to check this out. It's game changing what we can do at the InBody." And so honestly, it was just from that relationship there with Steve, the person that helped me with the nutrition coaching. We ended up putting an InBody in our gym when he shut down one of his stores in Omaha. And that's where I started about 5 years ago with LifeBase.
Awesome. And so that you got the InBody to be able to use the life-based program.
Right. That was specifically what it was for. So until that time, I was not familiar with LifeBase at all. And I'd seen the InBodies around, but I'd never really experienced that firsthand with my own nutrition coaching.
What was the response to the InBody when you brought it in, and how's the culture shaped around that in the gym?
Oh, dude, great question. Well, I geek out over numbers. I'm kind of a numbers guy by default. So, of course, the first thing I do is get on the InBody. I wanted to see how it compared to the caliper testing we were doing, the old $20 handheld bioimpedance scanners, and the data that it provided and the numbers, the in-depth look at things. It was instantaneous for me. It was like, man, this can be a game changer. It's so cool. And at that time, being so new to LifeBase, I didn't even really understand the full integration and what we could do from a data standpoint with the InBody from the nutrition software platform. But it's just a new toy. It was cool. Our members were excited to get something in their gym. We actually really, before the nutrition coaching took off to another level, we used that as a lead gen. Just I figured, hey, if I can get all of my members in on that InBody, provide some data, it would show them how they had some room to improve their health and to keep them at the gym longer. So it was a total culture changer for us.
Cool. How has the support and service been from InBody since you've got one?
Well, we've never had any issues with our InBody other than maybe one of the kids at the gym grabbing it and cracking a little plastic piece on it. So the machine itself has been great. Never even a service call, a warranty, and I got it from Steve when it was used already. But yeah, the support's been awesome. Obviously, I've got one guy there that I can go call whenever I need. So yeah, Bradley, you've been great for me. But just when I have experienced now on the outside looking in from a client perspective and helping other businesses grow, I think it's been great. It's instantaneous service and response across the board from your team to help all of our businesses out, which takes a lot of the pressure off of us.
Tell us more about the LifeBase platform and what you guys have to offer in terms of that, because from a perspective, let's think about it from a perspective of somebody who's never heard about it before.
Yeah. So, if I look at the shoes that I'm in now, the way that I would introduce LifeBase would be we're a nutrition software company that helps other business owners scale and manage a nutrition business. So, for me, looking back, I was doing things the old school way on Excel documents, writing macro plans. I would actually send people to outside apps like MyFitnessPal to go track their food, bring it back in. And I was able to do some things, but I was never able to take my business past that 20, 30 client mark because it was so hands on. So the integration with LifeBase into the business, we've kind of already talked about the data with the InBody. We know what those scanners do. The data that it provides is incredible from a nutrition coaching standpoint. What I started to use LifeBase for was I was able to see my clients' data in real time. So every time they scan on the InBody, we have a coaching dashboard in LifeBase where all that data goes right in there. We can adjust macro plans and do things accordingly. We can see all the food that our clients are eating. So immediately, I had no reason to go anywhere else or send my clients to any outside app or an outside source. I was able to keep things all in one place. That initially was the coolest thing for me. And then from there, what happened was we had so many of our members and word of mouth started to grow. We started to get good response. We had some of our members that wanted to do nutrition that it became a little bit overwhelming. And I had started to develop some systems that were very elementary in nature, processes and procedures for managing a larger number of clients, trying to automate some of my processes. And that was my experience with LifeBase to start was how can I go from 20 to 30 clients to managing 50 to 60 people. And over the course of time, we built that out. The owner of LifeBase came to me a couple of years ago and loved some of the things that we were doing in our business. And they really needed a business development sales side to their platform, which wasn't there yet. So we started to work. We have a professional marketing team now. We started work full time for the last couple of years. And so really everything that I built and that was in the plans in LifeBase, we combined forces and brought it to light today. And yeah, now we're helping other businesses do exactly what I started to do years ago in my gym.
So, from my understanding, there's two parts to LifeBase. On one side, there's the software portion that has the app that the customer would use to log their food, and then the coach would see that on the back end on a platform so they can see what's happening with the customer. And then the other part to it is that there's like a business implementation system that you've been able to develop to help people streamline that into their business. Am I right with that?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'd look at it almost maybe like three parts. You have the coaching dashboard side of things, where in real time you can see every meal, every food that a client logs. You can see all their body composition data. And I think we're probably going to talk a little bit about the nutrition integration there and how we know to make changes to plans. So I'll table that for a second. But you have the coaching side, you have the user side where we have our own custom app right on your phone. Um, and then that third piece absolutely is the business side of things, right? A person could take LifeBase as it sat and use it like I was doing in my gym. It definitely made my life easier. The data was next level. But what we've really brought to the table is that full business in a box. And if you want to go from 20 to 30 people and all of your spare time taken up coaching to being able to manage hundreds of clients, provide better quality education, and a full streamlined business. That's kind of that third piece that was missing, and it's absolutely there now. It's pretty cool.
Well, InBody's been very fortunate to have such a special relationship with LifeBase because they chose to integrate the body composition results directly into the nutrition coaching solution. So that means that it's built into the solution and it can be leveraged to improve outcomes. So tell me a little bit more about that integration and how it enhances the solution that you guys have.
Yeah, I'll start with it with the upfront piece to that puzzle. So, Bradley, if you are a new client and I'm your coach, um, you have an initial questionnaire you're going to fill out that's very personal. Not, it just doesn't do your height and weight to figure out your BMR and give you some custom based on your activity level. It takes all the data, like what's your history with food, how many times a day are you eating, do you eat breakfast currently? We know that most people have spent years wrecking their metabolism, skipping meals. So we need to know those things up front. So it takes about a minute to answer some of these questions. Your activity level, what do you do for workouts, your history with food, and then your goals. Everybody has different goals. I would say that 90% of our clients come to us because they want to lose fat. But a big key to that is losing fat without losing any muscle. We actually want to gain muscle in the process. But we do work with people who want to gain muscle, athletes. So that's the first piece, is figuring out what the goals are and what a person's lifestyle is. But then when we take the InBody, we can combine that data along with an InBody scan that breaks down skeletal muscle mass, body fat, weight, the whole 9 yards. And in real time, we're able to develop a much more custom macro plan for somebody as soon as they jump on that InBody scanner. So that's kind of phase one to how we get started with that, with the nutrition solution.
And then over time, when people are retesting on the InBody, how does that feed back into the solution? And does it have a intelligent design behind leveraging the body composition to change their nutrition plan?
100%. So this is the stuff where we are very unique in this space. Obviously, we can't give away all the secrets, and I wouldn't be able to do that anyway because there's so many years of testing that went into it. But the way that LifeBase started with John Peterson as the founder, in his supplement store with Cade and with his guys there, was they literally did tens of thousands of scans of people over the course of a few years. And they had people eat very specific ways, track their food perfectly. And at that time, they were using a very elementary version of the LifeBase app before it was what it is today. What they developed was really over 5,000 different scenarios that could be theoretically possible when somebody stands on an InBody scanner. So every 2 weeks, you come in and you scan with me. Based on the way that you've tracked your food, what has happened with everything from your skeletal muscle mass, your dry lean mass, your weight, your intracellular and extracellular water, how all those things change up or down. LifeBase is able to give you a recommended change, if anything, to your meal plan in real time. Add more protein, add more carbs, maybe take away fat, or maybe everything looked good on this change. It's able to tell if you're eating good quality carbohydrates, poor quality carbs. There's inflammation, maybe your sodium was too high. So I think that integration is key, where we can actually guide a coach. So you don't have to be an expert at nutrition, or even if you are an expert at nutrition, you can take that instantaneous feedback and then kind of dive into it and put your own spin on it if you choose to as well.
Take me through a typical day of a customer entering their food into this solution. What's that look like? Is it easy to do? How much time would someone spend doing that, and to get their coach the data or their doctor the data or anybody that wants to see it? What's that process like?
Right. Yeah, I think it's very unique in a lot of ways. We're lucky that we weren't first to the space from an app standpoint, because we got to experience everything that every other app offers, right? I mentioned before, we'd send our clients to MyFitnessPal or an app like that to track their food. So I always go into that where most people, I feel like, have used MyFitnessPal at some point or some sort of macro tracker. So if you can imagine, you can scan barcodes. It's linked up to the National Food Database. There's no difference there. But what we've done is take all the good features of those applications and then, I think, simplified them, color coordinated them, alphabetized things. We've gamified nutrition with instant meal scores for your clients. When you log a meal, instant feedback for how you did. If you needed more carbs, more protein, you were over on sodium, you ate too much sugar. So gamifying things to make it fun for a user is a very unique thing that we do. And then creating shortcuts and simple ways to track food so that you're not spending even 10 to 15 minutes a day. You're spending 3 or 4 minutes a day logging your meals. I think getting to experience everything else first and then bringing ours to the table was a big win for us.
Yeah, I've definitely used MyFitnessPal in the past. I've probably for the last decade or so on and off been tracking my food because I feel like it's a good way to be able to check in with where I'm at and objectively change my behavior if things aren't going well for myself. And when I had the opportunity to use LifeBase, I thought it was super easy to use, and the feedback that I was getting was super. Let's dive into just a little bit of your own personal nutrition, just from curiosity. What kind of things are kind of foundational and staples for you in your own nutrition?
Right. Yeah. Good question. So I go back, I've always done this stuff as I look back when I was more in that bodybuilding world, and that was my passion. It was, everything I do first thing in the morning, I'd make an entire box of pasta. That was just part of my carbohydrates for the day. I was drinking weight gainer shakes at night, first thing in the morning. So I'd always had that good foundation for how to eat. It was eating every few hours to fuel your body at that time, trying to keep weight on and gain size and do things. So I took those same principles then and apply it today. Just the neat part is I get to be my own nutrition client. So even for me, as good as I know nutrition, I mean that very humbly, we are running a challenge at our gym right now, and we just started on Monday. So I'm even doing the challenge. And for the last 5 days, have been tracking my own food with the LifeBase app at 100% spot on. But I want to be really clear. As much as what I'd love to sit here and tell you that Trevor wakes up every morning, eats eggs, egg whites, oatmeal, blueberries, eats salmon and asparagus and quinoa at my other meals, and I never drink a protein shake. It's all whole foods. And it's just not the case. I've got 3 kids. I'm at my gym every morning at 4 a.m. I'm full time on LifeBase throughout the day. So real life, right? So for me, some staple things. I'm a a creature of habit for the most part, as I think we all are. Breakfast is usually eggs and egg whites. It is oatmeal, but I do allow myself a couple days a week where I make my own French toast. So it's a good, healthy, whole grain bread, like Ezekiel bread, dunked in egg whites with cinnamon and a low sugar, sugar-free syrup. So breakfast is always those things. I still eat every few hours. I do a meal replacement protein shake mid-morning. I do it with coffee because the white chocolate mocha protein is awesome. So I do that. And then I do eat a good lunch and dinner that are whole foods. I mean, it's rice, it's whole grain pasta, it's potatoes, it's fish, it's chicken, it's beef. There's veggies mixed in. And then usually a snack in the afternoon ends up being a small meal. But yeah, I mean, there's no secrets. It's old school habits. It's eating proteins, carbs, and fats together, just choosing good quality carbohydrates. And depending on where I'm at, I'll eat right around 3,500 calories a day right now. That's what my nutrition looks like.
I bet the kids love the days when you make the French toast.
Dude, every morning. Yeah, they love it, especially Saturdays. I'm lucky enough, I go to the gym in the morning at 4. If I open the gym, I coach our 4:30, 5:30. I'm back home by 6:30. So I do cook breakfast for the family, for the girls every morning. They like their frozen pancakes or whatever. We don't fight about it. But on those mornings we do French toast, yeah, they're all in. The kids will eat it. And I think that's a big key. We have 52 recipes built right into our LifeBase app. And of course, people can add their own, but we come with a complete recipe guide to go along with those. And it's really easy for me to tell you, Bradley, just eat whole foods. But if I can find a way for you and your family to enjoy eating together, it'll take your nutrition to another level. And so I think that's where we focus all of our recipes, and a big part of what we try to do to help our clients too.
Well, let's talk about protein, fats, and carbs for a minute. I heard you share this before. You had an analogy for the proteins, fats, and carbs. What was that?
Yeah, we've authored some nutrition courses with our team of RDs and done some really cool things. But, one big key to me is finding simple ways to communicate with clients. So instead of breaking down proteins and amino acids, the roles they play in the body, and carbohydrates and glucose and glycogen and your hunger hormones, and diving down all that stuff. And if I'm talking to you, I got to keep it simple, right? So when we talk about carbohydrates, it's not that carbs are bad, Bradley, but bad carbs are bad. So the more active you are, the more carbs you need. And we're going to aim for carbohydrates that are high fiber, low sugar, the difference between fruity pebbles and oatmeal. So if we can keep are, if we can keep our focus on the macros simple and easy ways to communicate with clients, I think that's the best way to do it. So that analogy is this. If you can imagine that proteins, carbs, and fats are like offense, defense, and special teams for football team, same thing. They each play a very unique role in the body, no different than offense, defense, and special teams work synergistically on a football field. If you remove one from the equation, you're probably not going to win a lot of games. So, being a Nebraska football fan, it seems as though over the last decade or so, we've removed our offense a lot of times from the football games we play, and we don't win a lot of games. So, I look at it like that. I didn't invent macronutrients. They exist in nature. Our bodies are meant to process them. Just choosing quality ones is key, no different than quality players on your team. So, yeah, look at it that way. They're a team. They work together great. If you remove one, you're probably not going to win a lot of games.
I try to eat a protein forward diet in the sense that I want to try to prioritize the protein that I intake in my day. And I think about, like, I remember we wanted to get 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of weight. And then I think
Right.
it was amended to like 1.2 grams. And even if you're doing resistance training, it's probably like 1.6 grams. So I'm
Right.
willing to bet that most people don't get enough protein. And even myself, I struggle to get enough protein most days. It takes like a lot of effort to do that, especially if I'm tracking it and I see it. I really realize how surprised I am that I'm not getting that much. So do you have the same challenge for yourself or for your customers, and how do you help them get enough protein?
Yeah, I don't think for me it's just kind of commonplace now. I mean, I just know I'm always going to eat proteins, carbs, and fats together at every meal. Um, I think that it is a challenge for most people, women especially. And one of the things with our clients is you can have protein supplements and things, just not at real meals. If you want to save that stuff for snacks 1 or 2 times a day, it's not the end of the world. But definitely, it is hard, and protein's expensive to buy as well. So I love the concept, Bradley, of being protein and green leafy vegetable focused when you eat. Carbs are still important, right? But it'd be really easy to eat all those carbs first and leave the protein on the plate. I feel like we're always going to have room for all that yummy good stuff at the end, the potatoes, things along those lines. So, yeah, always make it a point to have a good quality protein source, a lean protein source on your plate. Start there, add some leafy greens, some veggies with it, and then round out your meal with those carbohydrates. I think that's a good place to focus because most people do struggle with that.
Carbohydrates seem to have gotten such a bad rap lately. I feel like in the face of ketogenic craze that we're living through, and fortunately, I feel like it's changing as people understand the value of the carbohydrate itself. And I think we could dive deep into like its connection with water and
Right.
sugar and even like the strength and integrity of the cells. But I think one of the cooler features that LifeBase has is the food quality score, and how that plays into the type of carbohydrates that somebody's getting in the quality. Tell me more about that.
Right. Well, this is the good and the bad with integrating with a company like InBody, right? Um, we always tell people you can coach nutrition however you want. I mean, if you want to coach somebody with a vegan diet, if you want to do it ketogenically speaking, that's fine. Um, we'll kind of dive into maybe a little bit about why we don't do that, but you're going to have to answer to your clients at some point. So if they're getting on the InBody and they are losing fat and they're gaining muscle, you're doing some things right. But what happens if their water ratios are moving in the wrong direction? What happens, one molecule of glycogen is going to store 3 molecules of water in the muscle. And we know that a well hydrated cell functions better. So if you're removing carbohydrates and water from the muscle, water from the cells, we know that at some point there's going to be some health issues there. And so you're going to have to answer for things at some point. And I think what most people miss is their body composition data. When I talk to my clients, and I never shy away from this, it's, they ask about low carb or ketogenic diets because they are so popular today and what our opinion is. And most people tell me, I've done low carb before and I lost a bunch of weight and it really worked well for me. My first response is, what do you mean you did it before, but you're not doing it now? Like, nutrition is not a short-term fix. It should be something that's sustainable for a lifetime. So keto is not something you do and then get away from it, then go back. Like if it worked and that's sustainable for somebody, it should just be who they are. That's just nutrition, right? So for most people, what ends up happening is this, to probably oversimplify it. If you're eating a ketogenic diet or very low carb diet, by default, number one, you are eliminating the majority of processed junk food from your diet. That is a positive. That's a step in the right direction. Because if you're not eating carbs, not eating cake, ice cream, soda pop, granola bars, potato chips, French fries. So those are good things. However, carbohydrates do fuel our glycolytic pathway. And so if you're missing out on those nutrients, you're not fueling your body the right way. Our body's meant to process carbohydrates, especially in that pathway. So I don't think it's eliminate carbs, just eliminate the bad carbohydrates and focus on the good ones. All your athletes do it. They eat carbohydrates. The more active they are, the more muscle they have, the more carbs they need. We know that stuff. So I think people mistake carbohydrates for bad carbohydrates. And by default, think all carbs are bad. And when you eliminate that stuff, not only eliminating junk food, but the bad side of that is you're typically restricting calories in a very big way. Most people are going to undereat. They're going to lose a significant amount of weight at first. And so it looks good on the scale, but it does not look good on the InBody scanner. And that's where we can make a big difference. Because if you're losing muscle and your cells are losing water, things are moving the wrong direction, we're able to prove when you need more carbohydrates. So yeah, I think good, eliminate bad food. Bad, you're calorie restricting and typically under eating, and you're going to plateau at some point and then go back to old habits anyway.
For the listeners, when we have a report on the InBody, it's going to show us intracellular and extracellular water. And typically when somebody cuts their carbohydrates in their diet, it'll deplete the intracellular water. We'd see that on the scale. And subsequently, what that does to the percentage of body fat is that it will actually go up. So an interesting story I heard one time was somebody that was putting people through ketogenic diets, and they wanted to see the percentage of body fat go up because that meant that the water was going down. So it was actually a positive adaptation to the diet program that they were on.
Yeah, it's just interesting because we talk about this all the time, and I'm not a clinician by default. I'm not a registered dietitian. I'll make that very clear. But I think it's just the questions we always get is, does a cell function better when it's properly hydrated? And it's always, of course, it does. So if you're starving that cell of water, it's going to be very hard for it to function appropriately. And yeah, so I mean, definitely ketogenic diets, I think, have their place in certain spaces, but generally speaking, it's not sustainable for most people long term. They end up going back and forth. And that's not what nutrition should be. It should be a lifestyle, just what you do. So yeah, that's my response to that. Hopefully without pushing too many buttons and poking too many people out there. That's my response to the ketogenic diet.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like it's not a sustainable diet for somebody to follow. There's definitely results that can come from it. Even with calorie restrictions, we can see results. But a lot of times those losses are diminishing the lean mass in the body. And there's another output that the InBody shows called phase angle. And over time, I would bet if people follow a ketogenic diet or depleting their calories, the phase angle would probably go down, which is a more granular value, different than muscle or water or fat, but it's showing us how strong or how much integrity there is within the cells of the body.
Right. I mean, you can do some cool things with low carb diets to get type 2 diabetics and things more insulin responsive, more sensitive to insulin. But at some point, there is kind of that carb tipping point where they're able to handle more carbohydrates and they need it. And we're able to see that with the InBody, and it's pretty cool.
Let's talk about fat. Before I worked at InBody, I spent a lot of time measuring metabolism. Have you ever done any metabolic testing?
Yeah, I mean, of course, like thinking back, over the
Yeah.
years, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, where you so I'd take somebody, I'd sit them down and I'd put the mask on their face, and then we'd measure that at rest, and then we'd get them up and we'd put them on a treadmill, a bike, or a rowing machine, and then we would measure how much oxygen they were taking in and how much CO2 they were putting out throughout exercise.
Right.
And it was really fascinating to monitor that over months or years of someone's life and the impact that their diet had on that. And one of the things that I found was that a lot of people avoided fats in their diet, but in order to burn fat, they needed to eat fat. And it played such an essential role in their metabolism and weight loss, and a lot of people overlook it. Do you see that in your clients too?
Right. I mean, to be honest, most people probably, that is when we get started them, they are overeating fats initially, but fats play an incredible role in the body. Good for cellular health, for hormones, fat soluble vitamins, things along those lines. So you are correct, Bradley. Fats aid in digestion. They slow down the digestion rate. They're more calorically dense than proteins and carbs. So eating them together will control blood sugar and things. But when I look at specifically your metabolic pathways, if we get into that aerobic or that oxidative pathway when you're doing long sustained exercise for 30, 40 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, your body is using fat as a fuel source to the tune of about 70% and only using carbohydrates for about 30% of your fuel in that metabolic window. So yeah, you think about it. If you're doing very intense short bouts of exercise, playing sports, lifting weights, things along those lines, CrossFit, carbohydrates are going to fuel that pathway. But when we're doing very long, slow, sustained exercise, we don't need a readily available, very fast burning fuel source. We need something that's also slow release, slow burning. And that's where fats come into play. And they definitely fuel your body in that aerobic window for the most part.
Let's get back to talking about how this integrates into a business, because I speak to a lot of people using InBodies or thinking about using InBodies, and they know they need to talk about nutrition, or they do, and they even invest in body composition to track their customers or their patients' progress. But I feel like for a lot of them, there's untapped potential and revenue for growing a nutrition coaching program in their business. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I always feel like you have the most low hanging fruit in the whole world. If you have an InBody machine in your business, obviously you're in the health world or health field in some capacity, whether it's in a clinic, whether it's a gym, whether it's a supplement store or otherwise. So you have the perfect tool to grow a nutrition program. And if you're not offering it, you're really only solving for part of the health equation. So I know this in my business specifically, every person that walks through our doors, they're going to be on my InBody. Because if I can get them on the InBody and I can show them the outputs and I can say, hey, look, I have a pretty cool nutrition program that's going to help you reach your goals and get the results you want, it's an easy sell. I mean, to me, if you have an InBody, selling nutrition is the easiest thing in the whole world.
What does that upside look like, or what did it look like for you when you added the nutrition program, or even customers that you work with now implementing LifeBase?
And it changed my world. You know, from a life-based business, we are not front end focused. I think a lot of the agencies you work with today are very front end focused. How do you generate more leads, get people through your doors, running Facebook ads and funnels? I take exactly what I learned firsthand in my business, and that's what we teach others. And it's growing organically from within. The differentiator between the people that we work and everybody else in the same field is the results that we get clients. So if you can deliver unmatched results for your existing client base, your business will grow organically by word of mouth. You can prove it. You can put those results on social media. You can share data with your clients that are coming in. So when I look back 6, 7 years ago, I actually look back to 2016, we did a total of $132,000 in revenue that year. We weren't really offering nutrition in any capacity, and the little bit that we're doing was not correct. Um, Today, we do over $600,000 a year in business total, and we've over doubled our membership base. So not only did we take our existing members and offer them a way to get incredible results, but by default, our gym doubled in size because the results that we were getting people led to word of mouth, and it spread all over town. What we were doing was different from anybody else. So, man, when I say that nutrition changed our world and the integration of the InBody did, it would probably be an understatement. I would not be here today if it wasn't for adding the nutrition and the InBody into our business.
Tell me more about the business implementation system that you have in place for people that start using InBody. What does that look like for somebody that wants to bring it in? Obviously, there's probably a learning curve in learning how to use the app and, you know, figure out how to implement it in the business, the software portion. But then there's also, outside of that, there's a lot that you provide in terms of sales or marketing or advertising. What does that look like from your perspective?
Right. Yeah. I think the big thing is nobody can do this stuff by themselves. I never would have understood the processes and procedures goes in into building the automations, the marketing, the CRM. the app itself. I'm on all of our development calls. It would have literally been impossible for me to do what I'm doing today by myself. So any good business owners, they need support on some level. You need a team of people in place, and we get to be that team. It all starts with a call. So if somebody's interested in working with LifeBase or wants to learn more, just book a call with me, run through the program and how it works. Don't feel like that call is going to be me selling you on the program, because as much as you're there to learn about LifeBase, we're also there to figure out if you're a good fit for LifeBase. We are very selective on the people that we work with. We want the business owners involved. You don't have to be a big business, but we want you to be able to put in the time and the effort into really developing a program the right way. So we do want the business owners involved. That's one thing we look for. We have about an hour-long call together, run through the program, their history in business, what they're looking for, and we see if we're a good fit for each other. And if it's something where we feel like we can move forward together, then yeah, we have a 5 to 6 week onboarding process. There's a nutrition credential through the University of Nebraska. It's a pretty fun study at your own pace kind of course, very interactive. And then from there, our team on the back end is building out a custom CRM. We're building that complete business in a box for you. We teach you how to use the LifeBase dashboard to manage your clients. We are structuring our materials to fit your business, adding your logos to things, doing all that stuff for you while you meet with us via Zoom once a week. We coach you on the integration with InBody and how we know to make changes to people's macro plans. We really help you set up your entire business in an hour or two a week over the course of those 5 to 6 weeks. And then you are set to take on nutrition clients, and the world is your oyster from there.
What kind of businesses do you see getting started? Obviously, you have a gym and it works really well in that situation. I imagine in a supplement store too, it would be a good fit, or somebody as like a dietitian or a nutritionist being able to do this. Do you see any other types of businesses coming on to start to use this solution?
All of the above. Yeah. LifeBase started in the supplement store world. We have stores that are managing over 400 nutrition clients a month. Econ Nutrition is doing that kind of volume in Iowa and South Dakota. So it started there. Obviously, in gyms, it's a no-brainer. One of the things that I love about gyms is we're so used to doing coaching anyway. So it's a natural transition to be able to help people. And then we do work with a number of clinicians. We work with a lot of clinicians who are doing things remotely now. I think where clinicians need the most help is, very honestly, we have a very broken system in the United States. People are very reactive instead of proactive when it comes to healthcare. And as a clinician or a doctor, something along those lines, you're able to see somebody for 10 or 20 minutes when they come in to visit you. But once they walk out of your doors, what do? This is becoming a phenomenal way for you to take your healthcare and the services you provide to the next level. And we are seeing a number of clinicians, whether it's hormone clinics, whether it's actual doctors' offices, things along those lines, coming forward and using our platform. It's pretty cool to see.
I imagine medical weight loss would probably be a pretty big avenue where this could make a big impact. I know there's so many new medications on the market for um, offering amazing weight loss results, and I talk to a lot of clinics that some of them just dispense and prescribe the medications, but other ones that I think are doing it really well are trying to provide a holistic program to support their customers for things like exercise or nutrition, and
Right.
be able to make a more sustainable long-term impact on helping the person manage their nutrition and their metabolism. And I think there's a variety of studies out there that show conditions like diabetes or metabolic conditions can be reversed or even eliminated by changing your nutrition or exercising or like
Right.
living more healthfully. So I feel like that could be a great channel to add a lot of value in the medical field too.
Yeah, we've done so many studies, reports, built presentations. The CDC cites 4 risk factors for chronic disease: alcohol use in excess, tobacco use, a lack of physical activity, and poor nutrition. So we know that we can solve for those. And if you eliminate your risk factors for chronic disease, then you shouldn't have chronic disease, right? And there's always outliers, but being overweight or obese is the singular thing that makes every chronic disease worse. So we know that if we can get people healthy, if we can get them active, if we can help them change their approach to nutrition, that we really can help eliminate or prevent chronic disease. And I think that is such a key. And Bradley, without diving too deep into the world of semaglutides and medications that are out there now, we do work with a number of clinicians that prescribe those medications. Um, every single one will tell you it is not a long-term fix. And they wish there was a better answer, but they can help some people initially. No matter what the case is, people are going to need a long-term sustainable solution. And there is no other solution other than figuring out proper nutrition that's going to last a lifetime. There is no easy button. There is no magic fix. Even though some of those things can help you up front, you still need a process in place to help them long term.
So, if you're ready to learn more about LifeBase and how they can help you build or scale a nutrition program, join the growing number of businesses that have started, Trevor and LifeBase have a special offer for anyone who becomes a new customer through this podcast here. If you sign up to learn more, you could get 20% off the program when you decide to get started. And you'll want to visit lifebasesolutions.com/InBody or reference InBody when you inquire. And you mentioned, Trevor, they'll schedule a call would be the next best step to get started.
Initially, you'll probably be meeting with me to do your training. I love to do most of that myself. We have other people in place that handle some of it, but I love to be as hands-on with our clients as we can. So yeah, it's once or twice a week meeting for an hour or so, setting up your business, talking through how to structure things, how to use our platform. And our team is doing so much on the back end that by the end of that 5 to 6 weeks, you are set to take on clients. We've already advertised your existing clients. You have people foaming at the mouth, waiting to get started with you. So that's your first couple months. It's always our goal to get you to your first 20 nutrition clients in that amount of time, generating real revenue and meaningful change for your business. But then we don't go anywhere, Bradley. We are there, 7-day-a-week support via email, text message, phone call from our entire team. Our marketing team meets with all of our businesses every week for live calls to help them with websites, CRM, funnels, automations, things along those lines. We have a coaching group for all of our coaches where we help. So we're not just one of those set it, forget it type of companies. We are there by our businesses for the long haul. Because very honestly, we just want to make sure that they're successful. And that's a big part of what we do.
That's fantastic. Well, if you're already an InBody customer, we appreciate your business and we'd love to hear from you. If you do find success with LifeBase, if you're ready to get started and get your own InBody, we're ready to help you as well. You can visit learn.inbody.com/LifeBase for a special offer just for coming through this podcast today. And a member of our team will follow up and help you understand our solution. And that's all I got here. Any final thoughts, Trevor?
No, man, I appreciate it, buddy. This is fun. We'll do it more, and I look forward to hearing all the success stories. I think just the start of some really cool things to come.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, buddy. We'll see you.